The night sky over the small village of Eldon was calm, dotted with stars shining like tiny lanterns. 5 homes, each separate yet close enough to hear a neighbor's laughter, lay quietly under the soft moonlight. Inside these homes, 5 women, Amara, Lila, Sarah, Tara, and Nina, were finishing their evening routines. Some read books, some prepared for the next day, and some simply sat in quiet, enjoying the calm before sleep. None of them could imagine that tonight their lives would change forever. Amara, who lived near the edge of the village, was folding laundry when a sudden hum filled the air. It was soft at first, almost like a lullaby, but then it grew louder, vibrating through the walls, the floors, and even her chest. She froze, staring at the ceiling as the hum grew to a low, steady roar. Outside, the wind seemed to stop and the stars shimmered oddly, as if the sky itself was holding its breath. At the same moment, Lila, a few streets away, felt a strange warmth fill her living room. Her cat hissed and ran under the sofa. Lila's heart beat faster. She opened the window to see nothing but the still night. Then a faint silver light appeared in the sky. It was no plane, no satellite, and it moved with a strange precision, almost like it was alive. Sarah, Tara, and Nina experienced the same strange lights, the same vibrations. The world outside seemed unreal, and a sense of unease settled over them. Then, without warning, the light entered their homes, like liquid silver flowing through the air. It wrapped around them softly, not burning, not hurting, just lifting them gently from the ground. The next moments were a blur. 1 second they were in their rooms, and the next they were floating in darkness. The soft hum became a gentle pull, and their homes disappeared behind them. They could see faint shapes, not like any architecture on Earth, but smooth metallic structures, glowing softly from inside. Their hearts pounded. They tried to scream, but no sound came. When they opened their eyes again, they were no longer on Earth. The 5 women were in a strange chamber, with walls that shimmered like liquid metal and floors that reflected light, like glass. Strange symbols pulsed on the walls, changing colors and patterns as if the room itself was alive. The air was breathable, but smelled faintly of something metallic. Suddenly, the doors at the far end of the chamber opened. Tall beings emerged, unlike anything the women had seen before. Their skin was pale and smooth, almost translucent, with eyes that glowed faintly. They had long, thin limbs, and their movements were precise, almost mechanical. The women felt fear, but also a strange fascination. One of the beings spoke, not with sound, but directly in their minds. "Do not fear. You are rare. You will be displayed to others. You are valuable." The word valuable made the women shiver. They looked at each other, fear mirrored in their eyes. None of them had ever imagined being taken from Earth, let alone to a place like this. Meanwhile, back on Earth, their husbands were asleep, unaware of the tragedy unfolding. Jason, Amara's husband, stirred in the middle of the night, sensing something was wrong. He couldn't explain it, but a deep unease settled over him. Across the village, Lila's husband, Mark, felt the same pull in his chest, as if a warning had passed through the air. Sarah, Tara, and Nina's husbands had similar instincts, but none understood what it meant. In the alien chamber, the 5 women were placed on platforms that seemed to lift them slightly above the floor. Other creatures appeared, examining them, touching their skin, observing their reactions. They whispered in strange sounds, which the women could not understand. Fear and confusion battled with their will to remain calm. Amara remembered the stories her grandmother told her about courage and inner strength. She whispered to the others, "Stay together. Don't let them break your spirit. They don't know us yet." Lila, Sarah, Tara, and Nina nodded, feeling a small spark of hope in her words. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time seemed meaningless in this place. The women learned that the aliens were preparing to bring them to another location, a larger gathering where creatures from many worlds would see them. The concept of an auction was foreign to them, but they realized it meant they were being treated as objects, as things to be bought and sold. As fear threatened to overwhelm them, each woman began to notice their own strengths. Sarah, who had always been the thinker, began observing the aliens' patterns, noting their movements, the timing of their steps, and the way they reacted to resistance. Tara, strong and determined, quietly tested the platform they were on, feeling the weight and balance, trying to understand how it worked. Lila, sensitive and quick, watched the creature's gestures, trying to find a weakness. Nina, calm and patient, kept everyone grounded, reminding them to breathe, to focus on what they could control. Amara, the natural leader, coordinated their small acts of courage, giving hope and direction. Far away, the husbands began to notice anomalies. Strange signals appeared on their phones, their computers, and even on devices that had no explanation. Jason, Mark, and the others, confused but determined, realized that these signals might lead them to their wives. Acting quickly, they began, recording, analyzing, and attempting to follow the trail. Meanwhile, in the alien chamber, the women were moved to a transport vessel. It was large and silent, with no sound except for the soft hum of energy. They were not chained, but the platforms beneath them prevented escape. Outside, stars moved in strange formations, revealing that they were traveling far from Earth, through regions of space no human had ever seen. During the journey, the women began to communicate with each other, not only with words, but with small gestures, looks, and subtle signs. Each story they shared, memories of home, dreams of children, hopes for the future, became a shield against despair. The aliens did not understand these bonds. They could not grasp that love, memory, and hope could make beings stronger than any weapon. On Earth, the husbands had begun gathering tools. Jason found an old drone and experimented with sending its signals into the sky. Mark located a satellite feed, hoping to catch glimpses of strange activity. Each man acted alone at first, but soon they realized they must work together. They shared notes, connected devices, and began to piece together a map of where the signals might lead. As the transport vessel approached its destination, the women noticed other ships, other creatures, and massive structures floating in space. It looked like a city, but in orbit, not on a planet. The scale of the alien world overwhelmed them, yet it also gave them perspective. They were small, yes, but they were not powerless. They had each other, and they had the hope that someone on Earth would come for them. The transport vessel docked with a massive structure, and the women were led into a vast hall filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. The crowd murmured with curiosity, examining the humans. The women stood tall, refusing to bow or show submission. The aliens were confused. Most species would have obeyed instantly, but the humans remained calm, composed, and aware. Amara whispered to the others, "Remember, they do not know our strength. They only see us as small. We will show them differently in our own way." The others nodded, their fear transforming slowly into determination. And so the first part of their journey ended, not with escape, not with victory, but with awareness. The 5 women were alive, together, and unbroken. Somewhere across the galaxy, their husbands were beginning the journey to find them. A race was about to begin, not of speed, but of courage, love, and humanity itself. The stars outside the alien hall seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if acknowledging that something new had entered the galaxy, humans who refused to be underestimated. The vast hall stretched farther than the women could see. It was taller than any building on Earth and shaped like a curved dome, shining with colors that changed like liquid light. Thousands of creatures of all shapes and sizes filled the space. Some had many limbs, some floated in the air, and some wore strange armor that glowed faintly. The 5 women, Amara, Lila, Sarah, Tara, and Nina, stood together, their hands lightly touching, sharing courage silently. They were displayed on elevated platforms, and the crowd's eyes followed them everywhere. The auction was about to begin. The aliens treated the women as objects, discussing their value in tones that felt cold and mechanical. "How rare," one whispered in its language, which the women could somehow understand in their minds. "These humans are. Not many like them exist." Amara's heart pounded, but she kept her head high. She noticed that the aliens looked only at their appearance. They could not see their courage, intelligence, or the way their minds worked together. "They think we are weak," she whispered to the others. "Let's remember that they do not know what humans are capable of." Lila nodded. Her sharp eyes noticed patterns in the auctioneer's movements. They raise their voices before pointing at an item. They check for fear or hesitation. She studied the alien closely. "If we don't show fear, maybe we can find a chance to act." As the auction began, strange machines moved over the platforms. They scanned the women, recording details the aliens seemed to think were important. Tara, strong and observant, realized they were testing reactions, looking for weakness. She stood still, breathing slowly, pretending to be calm while studying the devices. "I think I understand how they work," she whispered. "We can use this later." Meanwhile, on Earth, the husbands had begun piecing together information. Jason noticed that the strange signals they had recorded seemed to originate from a moving source in space. Using Mark's satellite feed and some old Earth tech, they began to track the trajectory. It was impossible, nearly unbelievable, but the signal suggested a location in the far reaches of the solar system, far beyond anything humans had visited. Mark's hands shook with a mix of fear and excitement. "They are still alive," he said. "We can find them, we have to." Back in the auction hall, the crowd murmured and whispered. A strange-looking creature with 6 arms moved near Nina's platform. It leaned in close, examining her hair, her hands, and the way she held herself. Nina met its gaze steadily, refusing to shrink away. In the creature's eyes, hesitation meant weakness, and she would not give them that. Sarah, always the thinker, noticed a small opening in the security system. There were floating drones, but they moved in predictable patterns. "If we can distract them," she whispered, "we might find a way to escape, or at least communicate with someone outside." The auctioneer raised its glowing appendages, signaling the start. A low hum echoed through the hall and creatures began bidding. Metallic tones, glowing symbols, and mental pulses communicated offers. The women listened, learning quickly that the aliens valued rarity, strength, and physical appearance above all else. But they did not consider intelligence, courage, or loyalty, the qualities that humans possessed in abundance. Amara realized something important. "They think we are silent," she said. "But our minds are active. We can learn their ways while they watch us." As bids increased, one alien leaned closer to Tara and whispered, "Resistance is meaningless." Tara's jaw tightened. Resistance may have seemed meaningless to the aliens, but humans were clever and determined. "We will see," she whispered back, though the alien could not understand the words. From the edge of the hall, the women noticed a platform being prepared for transport. They realized that once sold, they might be taken far away to worlds they could not imagine. Panic threatened to rise, but they remembered each other. Their bond was a shield against fear. They held hands subtly, drawing strength from unity. Meanwhile, on Earth, the husbands began to organize. Using a combination of old communication devices and signals, they started constructing a plan. Jason suggested modifying a drone to follow the signal into space, while Mark worked on decoding alien transmissions captured through the satellites. Slowly, impossibly, they began understanding the aliens' communications. Every small success strengthened their hope and their determination. Back in the auction hall, the women noticed something odd. The more the aliens watched them, the more the women learned about their behavior. They observed how the auctioneer responded to hesitation, how guards moved when orders were given, and how the drones patrolled the hall. Lila whispered, "They rely on numbers and rules. They are predictable." Amara nodded. "Then we can use that." Hours passed in this strange, surreal setting. The women were constantly observed, yet they began to learn the subtle rhythms of the auction. They shared ideas silently, whispering strategies that could be used if the opportunity arose. Nina reminded them, We must remain calm. Every small act counts. Every movement can be a message to them or to someone else. In a quiet corner of the hall, one alien observer seemed confused. It had never seen humans behave this way. Together, calm and aware under pressure, its peers whispered in alarm. They do not submit like other species, it said. Their minds resist observation. Tara's sharp eyes noticed another anomaly. A series of smaller drones moved erratically, almost as if avoiding the humans' gaze. They are learning from us, she whispered. They did not expect us to notice them. Sarah nodded. Then we can learn from them too. As the auction reached its peak, the women realized they were being separated into different groups. For the bidding process, panic rose in their chests, but Amara reminded them, no matter what happens, we remain humans. We remain together in spirit. That is stronger than anything they can do to us. Meanwhile, on Earth, the husbands discovered a shocking truth. The alien signals contained patterns, almost like breadcrumbs, that, if decoded, could reveal the location of the auction. It was dangerous, nearly impossible, but they refused to be stopped. We are going to bring them back, Jason said firmly. No one else will do it for us, not the armies, not the governments. We will do it ourselves. Back in the auction hall, the first alien bids were finalized. The women were not yet sold, but the atmosphere grew tense. Creatures from distant worlds whispered and argued over who would claim the humans. The women realized that their value was measured only in what the aliens did not understand: uniqueness, courage, and humanity itself. Amara whispered to the others, "They may think we are objects, but they do not understand humans, and they never will until it is too late for them." As the day, or what felt like a day in alien time, drew to a close, the women were moved to a temporary holding area. It was a smaller chamber, dimly lit, with walls that reflected only their own images. The women looked at themselves and each other, and for the first time they smiled. Not because they were free, but because they understood the truth. Fear could not control them. The aliens had made a mistake. They had underestimated humans, and somewhere far away in a quiet village on Earth, 5 husbands were plotting, calculating, and preparing to cross the stars. They had no weapons, no army, no training in space, but they had something stronger: determination and love. The first part of the human plan was already in motion, though the aliens had no idea. Signals flickered across space. Small devices hummed in hidden corners, and the husbands worked tirelessly, driven by a promise to bring their wives home. Back in the alien hall, the women huddled together one last time before the next round of bids. Amara whispered, "We may be on display, but we are not powerless. We are humans. That is enough." The auction would continue tomorrow, but the women had already won in a way the aliens could not understand. They had hope, courage, and unity. Qualities no alien could buy, no machine could measure, and no force could destroy. The stars outside the hall seemed to shine brighter that night, reflecting the light of 5 women who refused to be treated as property, and the unseen determination of 5 husbands who were beginning the journey to bring them. Jason, Mark, Ryan, Elias, and Omar sat together in Jason's garage, which had been transformed into an impromptu command center. The room was cluttered with computers, wires, and strange devices that none of them fully understood. But they were determined. Every screen, every blinking light, and every signal represented a possible path to find their wives. The thought of the women in alien hands gave them strength and focus beyond anything they had ever felt. "We can't wait for anyone else," Jason said, his voice steady. "Governments, armies, they won't reach them in time. If we do nothing, they'll be lost forever." Mark nodded, eyes scanning the monitors. "We have the signal. It's faint but consistent. If we can follow it through space, we can find them." Elias, the engineer of the group, pointed to a pile of old drones and satellite components. "We can build something to travel further than any drone before. It won't be perfect, but it might survive long enough to reach the source." The group worked through the night, soldering wires, reprogramming devices, and decoding alien signals. Every small success brought bursts of hope. Hours turned into days, yet their determination never faltered. They were ordinary men, untrained, in space travel, yet they were driven by an extraordinary force: love. Finally, after days of work, they completed a small craft. It was crude compared to alien ships, patched with Earth technology, but it was functional. It could move through space and carry the 5 husbands toward the distant location of the auction. Ryan studied the controls. "I've never flown anything like this in space before, but we have to try. We have no other choice." Omar, always the cautious one, nodded. "We'll make mistakes, but we'll learn. Humans are good at adapting. That's what makes us dangerous, our ability to change quickly." The husbands loaded themselves into the ship, hearts racing. Outside, the night sky of Earth seemed impossibly large, but as the engines hummed to life, the stars became their guide. They were leaving everything behind, their homes, their comforts, even their fears, to enter a world they could hardly imagine. In the alien hall, the 5 women waited on their platforms, unaware that their husbands were now moving through space toward them. Amara had grown restless but remained calm. "They will come," she whispered. "They always find us." Sarah nodded. "We have to be ready. We may not be able to wait for them long." The transport drones hovered nearby, scanning their movements constantly. The women observed patterns in the drones' patrols, realizing that the aliens relied heavily on repetition and predictability. This knowledge gave them hope. They could prepare for opportunities that might arise. Meanwhile, the husbands traveled through the void of space, using improvised navigation tools and alien maps they had pieced together from intercepted signals. They faced obstacles immediately: asteroid belts that threatened to tear the ship apart, electromagnetic storms that disrupted their instruments, and regions of darkness where no signal reached. Jason piloted the craft with a steady hand, relying on intuition as much as calculations. "Trust me," he said. "We will get through this." Mark monitored the signals, recalibrating the instruments as they fluctuated. "We're close," he said. "The readings show a large energy source ahead. That must be the auction site." Elias adjusted the thrusters, keeping the ship on a precise trajectory. "I don't know what we'll face when we arrive, but we'll face it together." The men also encountered alien patrols, creatures that scanned the space lanes for intruders. Their ship was small and fast, but they had no weapons. They relied on cunning, using asteroid shadows, signal interference, and the unpredictability of their own actions to slip past detection. Every near miss tested their nerves, but it also strengthened their resolve. Ryan studied the stars ahead, noting constellations and structures in orbit around a distant planet. "That must be it," he said quietly. "The location matches the signal pattern perfectly." The alien auction hall was larger than anything they had imagined, suspended in orbit around a small rocky planet. Towers of metallic structures reflected the light of nearby stars, and smaller vessels moved through the space like fish in water. The husbands' eyes widened at the sight, but fear never overtook them. Their focus was singular: reach the women. Inside the hall, the auction had continued without pause. Creatures from distant worlds crowded around, examining humans as if they were curiosities. The women stood firmly on their platforms, refusing to show fear. Lila's quick mind calculated the timing of the guards' patrols, Tara's strength, prepared for sudden movement, and Amara coordinated their silent communication. The husbands watched from a distance using the crude long-range scanners they had built. They could see the outlines of the hall and the movement inside. It was overwhelming, but it gave them hope. They knew exactly where to go. The next challenge was docking. The husband's ship was far from the alien vessels in size, technology, and speed. But humans had ingenuity. Elias suggested using the ship's small size to their advantage, slipping through the station's outer defenses unnoticed. Jason maneuvered carefully, using shadows of larger structures as cover. At one point, a bright searchlight swept across their path. Jason held his breath, sliding the ship into the shadow of a tall metallic tower. The searchlight passed. The crew exhaled, a small cheer breaking out in their cabin. Each small victory fueled their determination. As they approached the outer perimeter of the hall, Mark's instruments picked up a strange energy field. "It's some kind of barrier," he said. "We need to find a weak point." Ryan scanned the signals, noticing fluctuations. "Here," he said. "This area cycles energy. If we time it perfectly, we can slip through." The husbands synchronized their movements, coordinating the ship's speed, angle, and energy signature. The barrier pulsed, bright and powerful, but the small ship slipped through just as the field dimmed. Cheers filled the cabin. They were inside the auction complex's outer zone. Inside, the environment was different: artificial lights, massive halls, and countless alien machines. The ship had to navigate carefully, avoiding drones and automated patrols. Every moment was tense, but they moved forward with unyielding focus. On the platforms, the women sensed a change in the alien activity. Guards became slightly distracted, scanning patterns in the hall that had not existed before. Sarah's sharp eyes noticed that the aliens seemed more alert than usual. "Something is coming," she whispered. Amara nodded. "We have to be ready. Whoever comes, we must show them we are not helpless." Meanwhile, the husbands neared the central hall. From their scanners, they could see the outlines of platforms and structures, the glowing forms of the women, and the alien auctioneer. They could not communicate yet, but the signal strength confirmed their location. Jason adjusted the ship, preparing for the final approach. "We are close," he said. "Remember, we may not have weapons, but we have our courage, our minds, and each other. That is enough." Elias tapped the control panel. "The structural layout matches the signals perfectly. If we move carefully, we can reach them without being detected by the main patrols." The journey had been long, exhausting, and dangerous, yet none of them considered turning back. Every obstacle had been overcome through ingenuity, courage, and teamwork, the very qualities that made humans exceptional. Finally, the ship hovered at a safe distance above the central hall. The husbands peered through the small observation windows, seeing their wives standing firmly on the platforms. Relief washed over them, but they did not celebrate. There was still danger ahead, and the women were still in alien hands. But hope was alive. The 5 husbands had crossed unimaginable distances, navigated dangers no one had thought possible, and reached their goal. The first stage of the rescue was complete. Amara felt a subtle shift in the air. Something had changed. "The aliens move differently, alert but uncertain," Sarah whispered. "The patterns are changing. Someone is coming." Lila nodded. "I think help is on the way." The human husbands, ordinary men with extraordinary courage, were finally in position. The stage was set. A rescue unlike any the galaxy had seen was about to begin, and far above the stars twinkled, reflecting the determination of 5 humans who refused to accept impossibility, and 5 women who refused to accept fear. The central hall of the alien auction stretched endlessly, filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Their glowing eyes scanned the platforms, their many limbs gesturing and pointing, and their soft hums filled the air with tension. The 5 women, Amara, Lila, Sarah, Tara, and Nina, stood tall on their platforms, their posture firm, faces calm despite the danger surrounding them. Every movement they made was careful yet deliberate. Above the hall in a small human craft, the 5 husbands hovered silently. Jason at the controls whispered, "This is it, the moment we've been preparing for. Stay focused." Mark studied the alien patrols below. "We can't fight them directly. Their technology is too advanced, but we can use strategy, surprise, and timing." Elias adjusted the ship's minor systems. "We may not have weapons like theirs, but we have something stronger: courage, intelligence, and love. That will guide us." Inside the hall, the alien auctioneer raised a glowing appendage. Its voice pulsed through the minds of the crowd. "Observe, consider, decide." The audience of alien species leaned forward, curiosity shining in every motion. The women knew that their value, in the eyes of these aliens, was measured by physical presence alone. But their minds and hearts held something far greater, something invisible yet unbreakable. Suddenly, alarms echoed throughout the hall. Red lights flashed as drones hovered, scanning the platforms. The crowd murmured in alarm. Amara's eyes narrowed. They don't know what's coming. From above, the human craft dropped into the hall with precision. The small vessel caused gasps and confusion among the aliens. It hovered for a moment, suspended in the air, shining like a bright star in the dim hall. Jason opened the comm system, his voice steady but loud enough to resonate. "We are here for the women. Let them go." The alien auctioneer's glow flickered. It had not expected this. None of the species in the hall had ever seen humans confront them directly, and certainly not with such calm and precision. "You dare enter the auction without permission?" It projected into their minds a mixture of confusion and curiosity. Mark responded, "We do not seek permission. We act for what is right. You do not own them." The aliens whispered to one another. They had never seen such determination. They were used to submission, to fear, to obedience, but these humans defied everything. Inside the hall, the women reacted immediately. Tara moved subtly on her platform, testing the stability of the surrounding structures. Sarah observed the guards' patrols, noticing hesitation and confusion caused by the sudden arrival of the human craft. Lila and Nina prepared to act on any opportunity, keeping their minds sharp and alert. Amara coordinated, signaling silently with subtle gestures that the women understood instinctively. The alien guards advanced, but they moved cautiously, uncertain how to respond to the humans' bold action. The auctioneer activated a force field, around the platform shimmering and bright. The women could not escape, but their calm confidence challenged the aliens. Jason guided the ship closer, using its small size to dodge drones and automated patrols. "We can distract them," he said. "Give the women a chance to act." Elias manipulated the ship's controls to emit pulses of light and energy, confusing the alien sensors. Red beams scanned the hall, shifting wildly as the aliens tried to track the vessel. The humans used strategy rather than force. Every movement was calculated to maximize effect while minimizing risk. Inside the hall, the women noticed the shift. The force field fluctuated. Guards hesitated. Amara whispered, "Now, watch their patterns. Stay calm, and move when possible." Tara leaned slightly, testing the edge of her platform. It shifted with her weight, revealing a small structural weakness. Sarah observed and nodded. "We can use this." The aliens' confusion grew. Their language, symbols, and devices could not predict human improvisation. They were unprepared for courage that did not yield, for minds that adapted instantly, and for hearts that refused to break. Mark adjusted the ship's position above one of the platforms. "We can lift them, carefully, one by one." Jason piloted, the ship close enough for the women to reach small lifting cables. The cables were not designed for beings like humans, but with careful timing and coordination, Amara, Lila, Sarah, Tara, and Nina were able to grab hold. The auctioneer roared, not with sound but with a mental pulse that shook the hall. The crowd gasped. "Resistance is impossible," it projected weakly. But the humans ignored the intimidation. Amara whispered encouragement to the others. "Stay calm. We are stronger than they think. Trust each other." The husbands carefully lifted the women one by one, avoiding the erratic patrols and flashing sensors. Every movement had to be precise. One wrong step could alert the entire hall, but they were humans, and humans were clever. As the last woman was lifted aboard the ship, the alien crowd erupted into alarm. Machines activated, lights blazed, and drones surged toward the intruders. But the humans had planned for this. Using a combination of evasive maneuvers, quick thinking, and unrelenting determination, they slipped through the hall's defenses. The auctioneer tried to respond with mental pulses and commands, but the humans were unpredictable. Every action defied logic, every move challenged expectation. In a moment of rare clarity, the auctioneer realized it had underestimated humans completely. Jason piloted the ship out of the hull, engines humming. Mark monitored the pursuers, calculating paths and energy signatures. Elias adjusted shields and controls, keeping the craft stable. Rian and Omar assisted, tracking drones and obstacles. Inside the cabin, the 5 wives sat, holding hands with relief and pride. Amara smiled at Jason. "You found us," she said simply. Jason looked back, at her, eyes shining with determination. "We always will." Outside, the hall erupted in chaos. Drones scrambled, alarms blared, and the alien audience gaped at the humans who had dared to defy them. For the first time, the species in the hall understood something important. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were clever, brave, and relentless. As the ship moved away from the hall, the 5 couples felt the weight of what they had achieved. They had not only escaped, but they had also sent a message across the galaxy. Humans were not weak, and they would fight for each other. The alien auctioneer glowed faintly, pulsing with frustration. It had learned a lesson that no algorithm, no force field, and no crowd of observers could teach. Humans were unpredictable and powerful in ways that were not visible at first glance. The women, safe on the ship, began to breathe freely again. Lila leaned back, still gripping the lifting cable, and said, "They really had no idea what humans can do." Sarah smiled. "They will remember us." Amara looked out the viewport at the stars beyond the hall. "We are human," she said softly. "That is enough. Our courage, our love, and our unity are stronger than anything they thought." Jason guided the ship toward open space. "We've won this battle," he said. "But the journey isn't over. We need to make sure they never follow us home." The couple settled into the small cabin, still alert but relieved. For the first time, they could speak freely, sharing words of hope, love, and encouragement. The bond between them, strengthened by fear and determination, was now unbreakable. Outside, the stars glimmered, reflecting the light of humans who refused to bow, refused to be treated as objects, and refused to be defeated. The galaxy would remember this day, not because of technology or power, but because of courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit of humans. As the small ship moved into the vast darkness of space, the 5 couples knew that they had not only rescued themselves. They had proven something far greater. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They could face danger, overcome impossible odds, and act with courage and love when no one else dared. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, the aliens would think twice before ever underestimating humans again. The small human ship floated silently through the void of space, carrying 10 souls whose courage had defied the galaxy. Inside, the 5 couples were together again, hearts pounding with relief, gratitude, and pride. They had escaped the alien auction. Outsmarted creatures far more technologically advanced than humans, and proved that determination and unity could overcome the impossible. Amara held Jason's hand tightly. "We're alive, together. That's all that matters." Jason nodded, a small smile breaking across his face. "And they'll remember us. The galaxy will remember humans." Outside, the alien auction hall was still in chaos. Drones scrambled, alarms blared, and the auctioneer pulsed with frustration. Across the hall, whispers spread among the audience. Creatures who had seen humans for the first time exchanged astonished glances. They had never encountered beings who combined courage, intelligence, and loyalty so perfectly. Back on the ship, the women began assessing their situation. Tara and Lila inspected the vessel, while Sarah and Nina analyzed the alien tracking signals they had captured during the escape. Amara coordinated, ensuring that everyone had a role. Humans, they realized, thrived when united in purpose. Ryan, monitoring the ship's external sensors, spoke first. "We're not out of danger yet. The aliens may follow us." Mark nodded. "But we've learned their weaknesses. They rely on rules, patterns, and technology. Humans rely on adaptability and strategy. That's our advantage. The ship moved swiftly through space, following a path that avoided major patrol routes. The husbands worked in perfect synchronization, improvising when unexpected obstacles arose. They navigated asteroid fields, bypassed automated drones, and even dodged patrol vessels that searched for intruders. Elias adjusted the ship's minor shields, feeling the hum of energy around them. They'll try to track us, but we're unpredictable. That is our strength. Inside the cabin, the women shared quiet laughter. After so much fear and tension, the relief was almost overwhelming. Lila leaned back and said, "They thought they could control us. But humans are never predictable." Sarah added, "And we fight for each other. That is something no alien can understand unless they live it themselves." The journey back toward Earth was not easy. The group faced cosmic storms, gravitational anomalies, and navigation challenges that would have daunted any ordinary travelers. Yet the humans pushed forward, relying on skill, courage, and each other. Every small victory reinforced their confidence. Every obstacle overcame, strengthened their unity. Far behind them, alien ships began pursuit. They were faster, more powerful, and equipped with sensors designed to detect intruders. But the humans had something the aliens did not expect: strategy and heart. Jason maneuvered the ship expertly, using asteroid shadows and radiation pockets to hide from pursuit. "They're expecting us to panic," he said calmly. "We won't." Mark adjusted the ship's trajectory. "We can lead them into the nebula. Their technology will be less effective there." Elias worked on the propulsion systems, keeping the vessel steady. The human mind solves problems differently. They think in patterns. They assume we will act predictably. We won't. Inside the cabin, the women prepared for any eventuality. Tara checked the life support systems. Nina monitored alien signals. Sarah calculated trajectories. And Lila observed the stars outside. Amara stood at the center, giving silent guidance. Together, they created a sense of calm and readiness, proving once again that humans were capable of extraordinary resilience. As they entered the nebula, the alien ship struggled to maintain tracking. Their energy pulses scattered and refracted, making it nearly impossible to follow the human craft. Using the chaos of the nebula, the humans slipped past the first wave of pursuers. Jason glanced at his companions. "We've bought ourselves time. Now we need speed." Ryan calculated a course that would use gravitational slingshots from nearby asteroids, propelling them forward without draining the ship's energy. "It's risky," he said, "but it's faster than anything they expect." The women cheered silently, watching the alien energy signatures fade behind them. For the first time since their capture, they felt that true freedom was within reach. Hours passed, and the Earth grew closer on the viewport. Its blue oceans and green lands shimmered like jewels in the blackness of space. The women leaned forward, tears in their eyes. Amara whispered, "We're almost home. We made it." Jason's hand squeezed hers. "And we did it together. Nothing can take that away." As they approached Earth's atmosphere, the alien pursuit finally ceased. The aliens had underestimated human ingenuity and courage. Across the galaxy, their reputation had changed. Where once humans had been considered weak, now they were seen as unpredictable, fearless, and dangerous when defending what they loved. The women and their husbands descended gently, landing in a remote area where they would be safe from prying eyes. Stepping onto Earth's soil, their hearts filled with relief and gratitude. Each looked around at the familiar landscape, the trees, the wind, the sky. It was a simple homecoming, yet profound. Amara turned to Jason and said softly, "We are human. That is our power." Sarah smiled at the group. "It's not just our strength, it's our unity. That is what makes us unstoppable." Mark looked at the horizon. "They will remember us, not because of force, but because humans fight for each other, no matter the odds." The women hugged their husbands tightly, laughter and tears mixing together. They had survived what no one else thought possible. They had overcome fear, danger, and alien misunderstanding. And they had proven something far greater than personal survival. They had proven the strength of humanity itself. As the sun rose over the earth, casting light on the land, the group knew their story would leave a mark, even if only as a lesson to themselves. Humans were not weak. Humans were clever, courageous, and capable of extraordinary feats when driven by love and loyalty. In the galaxy beyond, alien worlds whispered of the humans who had dared to defy the auction, escape, and triumph against impossible odds. Across star systems, species who had once underestimated humanity now reconsidered their assumptions. Humans were not to be treated as objects or curiosities. They were fighters, thinkers, and united hearts whose reach might one day extend even further than anyone could imagine. Back on Earth, life returned to a sense of normalcy. The women resumed their routines, their strength and courage silently woven into every step. The husbands rebuilt their lives with new confidence, knowing that love and determination could conquer any obstacle. Together they shared stories of courage, teamwork, and hope, each tale reinforcing the bond between them. The journey had been dangerous, exhausting, and terrifying, but it had also revealed the most essential truth. Humanity's spirit was unbreakable. No alien auction, no technological superiority, and no overwhelming force could diminish the power of courage, intelligence, and unity when humans acted together. Amara stood at the edge of a hill, watching the stars twinkle above. Jason joined her, and together they gazed at the galaxy. "We've shown them," she said quietly, "what it means to be human." Jason nodded. "And we'll keep showing it. Wherever life takes us, whatever challenges arise, humans will face them, and we will prevail. Always." The women joined them, each taking a moment to breathe in the freedom they had fought so hard to reclaim. Their hearts were full, their spirits unbroken, and their determination stronger than ever. The galaxy had learned a new truth that day. Humans were not to be underestimated. They could fight with courage, think with intelligence, and act with love that surpassed fear. And the legend of these 5 couples, the humans who defied an alien auction and returned home against all odds, would live on as a symbol of what it truly meant to be human. For now, the 10 of them stood together, looking at the sky. Their journey had ended, but their story had only begun. The stars above shone brightly, as if acknowledging the power, courage, and indomitable spirit of humanity. And in the hearts of these 5 couples, the certainty remained. Together, they could face anything, conquer anything, and teach the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated.